warm welcome to Sfunukwazi, a show that is made especially for you, a show that is made to enlighten, inform and clarify you. At last, something that will act as the eyes, the ears and the voice of students. All of this made, of course, possible by you, the students. My name is Elizabeth Matilso-Debeila and I'll be your host for the duration of the show. On today's show, my panel of guests consists of the previous SRC presidents and our current SRC president. Stay tuned as I clobber them with questions. Sfunukwazi. Saving the best for last. In studio at this moment, we've got Mr. Tshegofatso Menyatsoe. Thank you very much for joining us, Sfunukwazi.
Thank you for inviting me to this lovely program of yours.
Mr. Tshegofatso Menyatsoe is our current president at the SRC office, am I right?
Yes.
So what is your vision or motto as the current SRC?
Well, the current SRC is faced, it comes into office and it's faced with lots of challenges. One of those challenges is that as an institution that has been recently merged, there are lots of things that confront us as the SRC. One of those being merger, the second one being academic and financial exclusion. So as an SRC, we try to work to the best of our ability with the management to ensure that no student is excluded financially, and that if we continue with merger as an institution, it serves the community of Medunsa as best. So as an SRC, I cannot really say we have a motto that we function under, but that we are here to serve students and only students.
Only students?
Yes.
So the workers on campus, they don't count?
No, they do count, of course, but when I say only students, I mean in the sense that we won't be saving our own interest or the interest of management, okay, but that of students primarily. Because I believe that workers have their own unions and they would be able to address whatever issues that confronts them through their unions. But nonetheless, they form an integral part of the institution, as we do. So from time to time, we would assist each other.
Okay. Putting those aside, because I think right now you were dwelling more or less on the POA of the current SRC in terms of mentioning the merger and all of those. Now, okay, what we want to know at this moment is that can you please enlighten the students as to the responsibility of the president?
Well, as a president, you are the chief in command. When anything goes wrong in the SRC, you are supposed to be held accountable more than everyone else. If a certain portfolio in the SRC does not perform, the first person to blame would be the president, because the buck stops with it. Take for instance, if students do not get enough bursaries and the bursary officer is docile, the president must be able to come in and augment such a portfolio. So as the president, your responsibility in the SRC is that you must ensure that the SRC fully functions, and other responsibilities such as council comes in, and other representative responsibilities. Where a president is needed, you will always be available.
Mr. President, there are different deployees from different organizations on campus. How then are you going to try to harmonize the atmosphere in the SRC office?
Well, most of us, when we come from different organizations, we go into the SRC and we have different types of mandates.
Yes.
And others may be good, others may be bad. But nonetheless, as a president, you are required at all times to ensure that the unity of the SRC becomes of paramount importance. But now, it's difficult when you are working with people who still have organizations to report back to, that you would know under any political arena, organizations can never really work together in unison. But nonetheless, as an SRC, the way I look at it is that if I have only 4 people understanding me in the SRC, it would better function as an SRC. It would be good, of course, if all of them can really appreciate what the SRC is about. But you know, as human beings, we come to SRCs and to structures like this with our own intentions. Another person might have wanted to be the president. Just because it's not him, he might find it necessary to sabotage all programs. But those are some of the things that are inherent in every relationship in our society.
Mr. President, it sounds to me that you would prefer it.
Of course, I would prefer an SRC which is fully led by Azasco. Nonetheless, that is not the situation here. The situation as it is a multi-party structure where you have different types of people and different organizations. But at the end, we must find ways and channels to work together.
Have you found those ways so far, seeing that you are the current SRC?
Well, we only have about 2 weeks in office.
Yes.
Thus far, I cannot really say I have assessed most of all, in fact, of my co-SRC members.
Okay.
To really say that we are working as a union, a unison, and to really say that there are no divisions. Mostly so because most people are still writing exams, and you cannot really rely on a person who comes in for 30 minutes and leave. You cannot really judge their character then. It's only when we are free of our academic duties that we'll be able to address those kind of things.
As our current president, you are, I mean, it's just like you said, you've only been in office for 2 weeks now. But from what you've saying, you're not saying, we're looking forward to working and accomplishing the mandates from the students. And on that note, do you have a mandate from the students?
Yeah, that's fine. I think when you get voted into office, ordinarily it's a mandate. Of course, when you are voted, you've already told students that if I'm voted into the SRC, I'll do 1, 2, 3. Of course, the mandate of the student will be primary in this instance. But with the fear that we are only human beings in the SRC, particularly coming from different backgrounds in terms of our organization, I might seem negative, but the reality is that in most SRCs, ever since I've been in Medunsa, there has never been real unity where all SRC members understand what the president or the executive is doing at one stage. It's only fair that I must learn from that phenomenon from history. Understand me, when I said I would prefer an SRC which is led by fully Azasco, it's merely a political statement that as Azasco, we believe that we are the rightful owners other than all other organizations, in as much as they believe that they should be running the SRC. We have the right to do the same.
Okay.
And I believe with the induction workshop and people who are going to invite to assist us in team building exercises, that I hope it would work.
Okay, Mr. President. Do you see the current SRC falling in the same hole as the previous SRC in terms of temptations that we were told through the tsunamis and the hurricanes and all those? Do you see the current SRC falling in the same hole?
Well, I don't know what those temptations are in terms of tsunamis and what, but nonetheless, however true or untrue they may be, the current SRC would work tirelessly under my leadership to ensure that corruption is intolerated like never before. Because one would realize that as an SRC, once you become corrupt, you fall and you play in the hands of management. You become easy to manipulate. If you are going to represent students on financial exclusion, fully so, without the fear of being a victim. You would keep your hands clean, away from corruption.
What do you mean manipulated by management?
Okay, let's take for instance a student is in the SRC.
Yes.
He takes a car as an SRC member,
Okay.
and he bashes it onto a tree anyway. And the management still keeps that person as a student. They only keep that person because they know that person is at the mercy of them. Number one, if a DC is to take place, you will be out of the institution. But now, they are going to ensure that you don't go to DC. And from then on, whatever they say you must do, you would do, of course, because all of us want to be graduates of this institution.
It sounds to me that the president is saying that our management is corrupt, but anyway. So do you believe that there are temptations?
Yes, there are temptations.
Can you enlighten us on some of the temptations that are there?
Well, I was in the SRC before,
Okay.
and not as a president. Temptations are there to defraud the SRC. And some of us, we pride ourselves that up until today, such things we have not committed. And
enlighten the students.
when I say such things, I mean fraud. Fraud. Being fraudulent as an SRC member are things that some of us, particularly I can stand here and say me, as an SRC member, I have never benefited personally from the SRC fund.
From the SRC funds?
Yeah.
Enlighten us on how you can benefit from the SRC fund.
Well, what people used to do in the past, they would organize maybe a sports trip to Cape Town. And then in that sports trip, they would get a whole lot and chunk of money from the institution.
Okay.
And in that way, they would be able to get something for themselves and provide falsified evidence that they have indeed spent that money on what they said they would spend the money for.
Falsified evidence such as receipts.
Slips and receipts.
So the person that is responsible for seeing that that the money is well spent, are you saying that person does not make follow-ups?
Well, I cannot say that that person does not make follow-ups, because as an SRC we are still new in office. I don't know what has happened now, but as far as I know, the only transaction that has been made was honestly made.
Yeah.
Yes, and in the past, I would say, because you are buddies in the SRC, you can do these things together, even with the person who is supposed to check these things.
Mr. President, what is to be expected of our current SRC?
Well, what can be expected of our current SRC is that it will be a different SRC. I hope at the end of our term, it would be an SRC that everyone wishes it could go for the second time as a unit.
As a unit?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to ask or commit yourself as the current SRC, what is it that you plan to do for the students?
Okay, I'm not going to commit myself to this, but what we are planning to do is that most of our students are faced with difficult circumstances from their background. We all know that we come from the poorest of the poor, most of us, and that as an SRC, there's one project that I hold dear to my heart, that we should have a student trust dedicated only to Medunsa students, where companies can donate money to ensure that students have money, have food in cafeteria, have books to read, and can register if needs be.
Okay. Mr. Tshegofatso, Sfunukwazi, thank you very, very much for availing yourself with this interview and enlightening the students on the responsibility of the President and the current SRC. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It rained hurricanes, it rained tsunamis. Today, namhlanje, it's raining Sfunukwazi. Fellow students, Sfunukwazi is here to stay. With your support, we're gonna go a long way because we as students really want to know. I wanna thank my guests that were here today and say that they must just Keep it up and do a good job, especially to the current SRC. We're looking forward to seeing what you have in store for us.